Do you ever wish that you could be more calm and composed in the midst of chaos and crisis? That, my dear, is called a temperate leader. Stay tuned today because we are unpacking the virtue of temperance. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer, author of best-selling book, Mastering Confidence. What I know for most of us women is we hit this point in our career where we feel in over our heads and we are wondering if we have what it takes to lead. In my courses, in my coaching, in my books, I give you both the inner and outer tools to restore that lost confidence so you, my dear, can move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Today, we are continuing our journey of the virtues in action via signature strengths, all of the character traits, and unpacking all of the virtues associated with that. Today, we are talking about temperance. Before I start this whole conversation, I'm going to pop on over and share this into my Confident Women Leaders group. While I'm doing this, I just want a yes or no in the chat box. And if you feel like adding a story, feel free to go, whether you're watching now live or on the replay. Have you ever had that moment when you went, oh, why did I do that or say that? Have you ever had something slip out of your mouth that you wish you could grab back, that you were not in control of? Put a yes or no in the chat box while I pop over, find the Confident Women Leaders group here for me to share this. And while I'm sharing a group, I hope that you're putting a comment in. Got it. Oops, nope, I didn't. Share in a group. Try one more time. Share. Posted. Good. Got it. Okay, I'm going to keep this going here. In the midst of chaos. See if I can do that. I'm going to see if I can keep the comments today. Swipe left, right, left, right, left, right, left. It doesn't show me. Okay, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm trying to figure this out. One day I will figure out how the heck to get comments on here because I can never seem to manage to see what you guys are saying. So I'm going to try and see if comments pop up, if I can watch them on my phone. Okay, temperance. Again, we've been unpacking the virtues. Here's the thing. We have many leaders that lack virtue, that lack character, that get themselves into trouble and get their organizations into trouble. And what we're trying to do is figure out how you, my dear, can lead with a stronger sense of your character traits. What is it about you that is unique, different? What stands out? How can you develop some of these things in you that maybe you already have a little bit, or maybe you don't have as much, but you know will make you a better leader, a more confident leader, a happier leader, a more successful leader, a more impactful leader. And so we've been unpacking character, and we've been looking at the 7 virtues associated with character. We talked first about, I have to remember all these because we've been going through them. First ones were all around wisdom, things like love of learning, perspective, judgment. So some of those were around the whole virtues of wisdom. Then we moved into courage and talked about bravery and that perseverance. Then we started talking about humanity, all of those virtues or traits that help you have that more caring, connected, compassionate relationship with people. Then we talked about leadership last week, where we talked about teamwork and, you know, working in community, that relationship stuff, having that bigger picture. Today we're moving into temperance. Temperance is all of this stuff around making sure that we are in control of what's going on in our head, in our actions, in our behaviors, in our impulses, all those things. You know, I thought I should have started this video with a bag of chips, right? Just munching out a bag of chips. That is lack of sort of control of ourselves. And that happens in many, many ways in our lives. Think of all the addictions we suffer from, things like, you know, smoking and drinking and overeating and online shopping, Facebook. We get addicted to work. We work overtime so much. All of that, social media. There's a ton of addictions out there that every single one of us has. When we can get better control of ourselves, we manage those better. And I think in leadership, one of the things that we sort of forget is that That ability to have that self-discipline, that control, comes into so many places, whether you check email 50 billion times today, whether you let that comment slip out in the middle of a meeting, whether you hold your ideas until everybody else in the room has shared those. That's all the virtue of being a temperate leader. A temperate leader is in control. They are slow, they're more methodical, they think things through. They have a level head on their shoulder. In the midst of crisis, they don't panic. They stay calm and controlled. That's what we're talking about today. So there are 4 traits, character traits, that are kind of the pathways to that virtuous leadership. And before I go there, I got to like get rid of this on my phone because it's like completely distracting me. There's like these hands and this face moving on the side. All right. So let me see if I missed anything. Temperance is the ability to manage and monitor your emotions, your behaviors, and your motivation without outside help. It's that ability to sit your butt down and write that performance appraisal, that report, when it would be much nicer to, go outside, get distracted by the crisis of the day, check your email again, right? It's the ability to sit down and do that. Temperate people conduct themselves in a calm, composed manner. I think we got that. All right. So let's start with the first trait, forgiveness. Ooh, maybe you weren't expecting that one. Forgiveness is one of the pathways to becoming a more temperate leader, because here's what happens for many of us. We don't forgive. Instead, we hold grudges. And as women, we are horrible at this. We drag things out. We hold on to a wrong that somebody did to us, a comment somebody made, and we get bitter and resentful, and we get a little bit passive aggressive. That doesn't help us. Forgiveness is accepting each other's shortcomings, giving second chances, and letting go of hurt. Now, here's what I thought was interesting when I was preparing today. That each of these character traits correlates to a zillion other things in life, meaning that when you are stronger with this trait, when you use it more and use it wisely, that other things happen in your life. So one of the correlations with forgiveness is there's lower levels of anger, obviously, because we're not holding on to things, anxiety, depression, and hostility. I can't tell you how many women I coach that are struggling with anxiety and depression. They're overwhelmed. They are emotional basket cases. They're falling apart. And here's what happens for many of them. They hold on to things. They're unable to let go of something that happened yesterday, last week, last month, last year. And whenever that conversation comes back up, whenever that situation happens, wham, they are back to that incident that happened a year ago, and the anger and the frustration floods up in them. We have to learn to forgive others, and we also have to learn to forgive ourselves. Here's a couple ways to practice it. One is let go of the road rage. If you're one of those people who likes to flip your finger up, yell, scream, make faces, get mad, and talk about it for the next day. You come to the office, I can't believe somebody cut me off. And you come home and you're like, I can't believe somebody cut me off. Let it go. Just let it go. That's practicing forgiveness. Another way to practice forgiveness is to say the words, I forgive you. Now, that's not always easy and sometimes not even appropriate. And a lot of times if we are trying to practice forgiveness, we're not at the emotional stage that we can sit down with someone and say, I forgive you. But here's one of the things. You can, in the comfort of your own car when you're driving home, say about that person that you left behind that you're pissed off at, that annoyed the hell out of you today, that hurt you deeply. In the comfort of your car on the way home, you can utter those words, I forgive you. And it may not feel like it at first, but let me tell you, I almost guarantee you, if you say those words, you'll either cry or feel some sort of emotional release. And it's not that you actually have to look at that person face to face and say, I forgive you, but you inside of you need to say, I forgive you. And again, it's not only about practicing forgiveness with other people, but it's practicing that self-forgiveness. When you make a mistake, when you mess up somehow, just say, I forgive you. And, it will change that that piece that you're holding on to tightly, that dark heaviness inside of you, it will sort of melt that and let it go. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever struggled to say I forgive you, or resisted saying I forgive you. And just make a comment in the chat box if you've ever had to practice self-forgiveness. Say, yes, I've practiced self-forgiveness. Forgiveness is a really difficult one, but when we think about our ability to get through the day, if we are holding on to hurts and angers and frustrations, it literally drags us down. It's heavy, it tires us out, and it makes it really hard to be energetic and light and optimistic and hopeful in the next meeting or conversation. We have to learn to forgive. Second one, humility. Humility is modesty, letting your accomplishments speak for themselves. Humility is the bottom of my list. It is the last one, and it was interesting. I went and looked back because I've done the virtues and actions probably 3 or 4 times over the last 10 years. And yeah, humility seems to fall at the bottom often. That doesn't mean it's a weakness for me. I want you to understand this. The virtues and actions does not measure weaknesses. It measures strengths. And all it is ranking them in an order. So it's not saying that I struggle with humility. I don't necessarily see it as important, or I wasn't raised that way, or it just isn't at the top. That doesn't mean I don't need to practice it. Here's some ways to practice humility. When I was in the competition a few months ago for Toastmasters, and I made it to the 2nd or 3rd level, and I got an award, I hopped out of that meeting and into my car, and before I even drove away, I had taken a picture of that trophy and I had put it on social media. That is not humility. One of the ways to practice humility is to hold off talking about your accomplishments. Don't tell all of the success stories or the positive stories. Let other people try. Hey, Sue, good to see you. Glad you are here today. I bet Sue has some stories to tell too, as we are talking about learning to lead with temperance, learning to practice forgiveness, learning to be humble. Overuse of humility is self-deprecation, though, and so we have to be careful of this. A lot of people take humility to that place where they really undervalue themselves, and we have to be careful not to do that. There's a fine line for humility. Okay, so first one was, I gotta look back, forgiveness. Second one is humility. The third one we're talking about is prudence, and prudence is such a funny word. And think about all of the nasty things we say about women and the way we describe women. What is one way we talk about a woman? Oh, she's a prude. And so we have to start to unpack the words before we quickly judge them. Prudence is about being careful about your choices, cautious, wisdom, practical, not taking undue risks. Now, when you think of a leader, is that not what you want a leader to be? You want them to be a little bit of a risk taker, but you want them to take calculated risks. And that's what prudence is. Prudence is thinking before you act. How many times have you seen someone who did not think before they opened their mouth? They did not take some time to weigh the pros and cons, to sleep on it, to digest it before they made a decision. That's what prudence is. It's really slowing down your thinking process and making sure that you're making wise decisions. And isn't that what we want in leaders? At the beginning, I said, are there times when you wish you could be more self-controlled and composed? That's what we have to do, is slow things down. Our world is just like, go, 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 run, 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 make a decision, phone this person, email here, go to this meeting. And we're like hopping, hopping, hopping. We never slow down long enough to think things through, to reflect, to consider, to contemplate, to just let our minds wander. That's what prudence is. Prudence is slowing down and letting ourselves think. So one of the practices is to think twice before you act. And I thought that was kind of funny. But it's true. We sort of like, yeah, I thought that through. Did you? Okay, just slow down. And did you really think it through? Did you think it through from this angle? Have you considered this perspective? Did you ask that person's opinion? Have you looked at the long range outcome? And that's a second practice to do. Think about visualize the consequences in the future. If I make this decision, what's going to happen tomorrow and what's going to happen 6 months from now? And let that help you decide before you jump ahead and make a quick rash decision. So prudence is thinking before you act. So as we're unpacking these virtues of temperance, looking at how we can be a more temperate leader. And I think, I should go back and look at dictionary, but I'm pretty sure that it's the same root as temperature. So it's not too hot, not too cold, right? It's that being calm and collected. And that's what we're looking at. So fourth one, we've got forgiveness, humility, and prudence. The fourth trait that is sort of the pathway to leading with temperance is self-regulation. Self-regulation is self-control. It's being disciplined. It's managing your impulses, your emotions, and your vices. So let's back those up. Vices, the cigarettes, the beer after work, the glass of wine, the bottle of wine, the online shopping, right? Those are our vices. Maybe it's the headache pills that you pop every day or some other drug of choice. Those are our vices. Our emotions are being able to manage when we're angry. Not that we can't be angry, but we have to manage how we're demonstrating that anger, when it's coming out, where it's coming out, the choice of our words. If we are disappointed, it's not that we can't be disappointed, but we have to manage it. So again, self-regulation is managing impulses, emotions, and vices. Impulses are those things like, oh yeah, I should run over there and open that email and check it. Oh yeah, I should run over here and have this conversation with that person. Oh yeah, I should do this. We have those impulses all day. It's just like, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this. Somebody pops in the door, can you come over here? Can you do this? Those are those impulses of action. We have to learn to manage that. It's those urges that hit us like 20 billion times a day that get us in trouble. So it's interesting because, again, all of these traits are connected to other things. Self-regulation is correlated highly to high levels of achievement. And I go back to when I wrote my first book and now when I'm working on my second book. I did a ton of research around willpower because I knew that, and I know from experience, that sitting down writing, which is no different than you sitting down working on something that's maybe not easy for you, the financial reports, getting ready for a board meeting, preparing a performance appraisal, writing a proposal, all of those things that are like, oh, I don't want to do this. When we sit down to do them, we have to have the strength of will to stay there even when it gets hard. That's that willpower. That's that inner discipline. And so I knew that if I was going to write that book, there was going to be some hard times. And so I did a lot of research around willpower at the time. And I gotta have a drink quick. I believe that it was those learnings from willpower that helped me helped me achieve that success with that book in such a short amount of time. I started the whole process in January and it was on Amazon and became an Amazon bestseller by October, same year. So I think what happened was I really had a strong sense of will. And there's a couple things to do if you're practicing self-regulation. One is to take those 2 deep breaths before doing anything. So you walk out to the kitchen and you're like, oh my God, I'm opening the pantry and I'm getting into the peanut butter. It's like, take a couple deep breaths first. Do I really need peanut butter? What's the urge? Am I hungry? Am I just trying to fill an emotional void? Take those 2 deep breaths. That really helps you become more in control. It's the same as when, you're about to check email for the 40th time and it's only 9:30 in the morning. It's like, do I really need to check email again? What should I be doing at this point in time? What's a better use of my time? And then habits and routines are extremely critical. When you create those habits and routines, it's like brushing your teeth and flossing your teeth. And I do laundry. I do laundry pretty much every day, but I wash the sheets every Saturday. I water my plants on Mondays. It's those habits and routines that help us be successful. When you look at where you're successful in your life, whether that's saving money, whether that's maintaining a healthy lifestyle, whether that's in your constant growth and personal development, it's because you created habits around that, habits of thought and habits of action. That's what helps us be in that place where we're able to regulate our emotions, our moods, our actions, and our impulses. And when we can do that, that's when we become more that temperate leader. The other thing about self-regulation is timing. Don't try and do something really difficult at 3:30 in the afternoon when you've already gone through 6 meetings, 24 phone calls, and you forgot to eat. You are so not going to have the ability to self-regulate at that moment. Do things that you really need to get done, the stuff that is hard, first thing in the day. Get those things done when you still have the energy, the enthusiasm, the strength of will to do them. That's what's going to help you. So, putting this all together, up in the notes, there is a guide sheet again for today that helps you look at these character traits. I'm struggling to remember them today, which is kind of funny. Okay, I'm going to pull them all out so that I don't forget them. Forgiveness, humility, prudence, and self-regulation. So in the guide sheet, what it does is it helps you link over to the Virtues in Action site so that you can dig into these 4 traits a little bit deeper and then look at, are any of them high for you? Do they land up top, and do you want to learn how to use them more? Are they middle traits or on the lower end of the spectrum? And are they ones that you might want to practice? I think when we look at the top 7 that are connected to achievement and success and happiness, self-regulation is one of those top ones. If we are able to be disciplined, if we're able to control our emotions and our urges and our impulses, so much more in our life becomes easier. And so when we can learn to do that, that starts to make that difference. So that guide sheet's going to help you. Up there as well is the link to Learning to Lead with Your Strengths of Character, which is a 6-month course that's starting next month, where we are going to dive deep into all of your character traits, help you look at how to develop your character in connection with other people. So make sure you check that out if you want. It's these 4 traits, though, that again are they pathways to leading with that virtue of temperance, being in control, managing your emotions, being composed, doing what it is you want to do when you say you want, not when it just hits you and you have no control. That's that temperate leader. So forgiveness, forgive other people and forgive yourself. Humility, tone down your accomplishments and your successes. Prudence, think before you act. And self-regulation is really about tuning into that inner guide and saying, do I want to, don't I? And, really using that strength of will that you have. It's those virtues or traits that help you to lead that virtuous life. It's that piece that helps you to sort of resist. What was the word? I wanted to give you the word that was on the thing. Oh, strengths that protect you from excess, whether that's excess emotions, whether that's excess eating, whether that's excess spending. These are the strengths that help you to protect from excess. So I think that's a neat way of looking at temperance, because I think when we don't lead with that control, we are uncontrolled. We are not composed, and that makes us feel awful. So if you want to learn to lead with temperance, go grab the guide sheet. Make sure you've done your Virtues in Action strengths. If you need to go back and watch all of the other videos, there are links on the Facebook page for all of those as well. Learn to get to use these strengths in everyday language. Roll them around on your tongue. Talk about them. Notice them. Start to pick up where you're seeing them or where you're not seeing them. It's that's going to help you really strengthen your leadership, feel happier in your leadership. And that, my dear, is what's going to move you from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and life. Go make the rest of your day awesome, my dear.